Before we start this video, I just want to say that I loved surfing, and trust me, I would definitely keep doing it if this incident didn't happen. I really hate stingrays, and I wish they would just leave us the heck alone. Y'all know that stingrays are never gonna leave people alone, and yes, I did get stung by a stingray extremely bad, and that is what I'm gonna be talking about in this video. So stay tuned to the end, and let's get into it. I will begin exactly 6 months ago. The first few days of surfing were actually pretty rough, to be honest. The waves weren't very good, and I just kept getting wiped out over and over again. But by the second day, I started to really enjoy surfing. I caught some awesome waves, and I really thought that this was going to be my new hobby. Until the third day. On the third day, it was my brother's turn to take the surfboard out into the water, so I went boogie boarding. Before I went in the water, I asked my friend if there was any stingrays in the water, and he said, "You'll be fine, just do the shuffle." So I set off in the water, doing the stingray shuffle with my boogie board, and just then, I saw a perfect wave. So I started running to catch the wave. And just then, all of a sudden, I stepped in a hole. And guess who was hanging out in that hole? I first stepped on the flipper of the stingray. And at that point, I knew I was gonna get stung. Absolutely terrified. I tried crawling up on my boogie board, and then I started sinking down in the water. So I tried reaching my foot out of the hole, but then it was too late. The stingray whipped his tail into the edge of my toe. In shock. And then I stepped on the stinger again. So basically, I got stung twice. And both times in the exact same spot. I screamed in pain. Fortunately, there was people there to help. They told me that I needed to get out of the water as fast as possible. So I got my boogie board and I sprinted down a wave. I thought maybe if I called my dad's name, he would come to me. So I screamed, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy!" And then these teenage girls started mimicking me. They screamed, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy!" And they had no idea that I was in extreme pain. Just ignored them. When I got to the beach, I took a look at my toe, and all I could see was a hot dog with ketchup all over it. I tried not to think about it. Hopping on one foot, I raced to where my dad was sitting. But when I got to where my dad was sitting, my dad wasn't there. A different family took his spot. Family took a look at my toe, and they said, "You need to see a lifeguard right now." So I hopped to the lifeguard station, and the lifeguard put a tiny little baby Band-Aid on my foot. It fell off in the sand instantly. The lifeguard asked me where my dad was. I said, "I have no idea." I looked around to try to find my dad, and I spotted a shiny, bald head with hairy hands holding a black phone. He was about 10 yards away from the lifeguard station. I yelled at the top of my lungs, "Daddy! Daddy!" I started getting a sore throat from screaming so hard, and my dad still didn't hear me because he was just on his freaking phone distracted. I mean, just hear me out. My dad is over there on his phone playing Risk while I am over here dying by a freaking stingray. The lifeguard even asked me, "Why can't he hear you?" And I said, "My dad has some major hearing problems." So the lifeguard had to walk all the way to my dad because my dad's ears weren't working correctly. The lifeguard finally got my dad's attention, and he walked to me in shock. Then the pain started getting worse and worse. I literally remembered I could see the venom from the stingray crawling up my vein. It looked like a green wire sticking out of my leg. It hurt extremely bad. It felt like someone getting a knife and poking it inside of your toe. And then when the venom started sticking out of my leg, Oh my god. It felt like someone slicing your leg with an extremely sharp saw. It was probably the most painful feeling I've ever felt in my entire life. I literally remembered laying on the sand, kicking and screaming. That's how bad the pain got. The lifeguard told my dad, what you need to do is bring your son to the Bolsa Chica station so you could dip your foot in extremely hot water. My dad halfway carried me to the lifeguard station. When I got to the station, I saw about 30 people soaking their foot in a bucket of water. The lifeguard said over 70 people get stung at this beach every single day. So I knew I wasn't alone. The lifeguard got a bucket and filled it with 115-degree water. I put my foot in it and it burnt so bad. Literally 2 minutes later, my foot was all red. My foot got toasted. And also, all of the blood from my toe soaked down into the bucket of water. I took a look at my toe and I saw 2 holes right next to each other where the stingray stung me. And I also noticed that there was a black little line inside of my toe. I had no idea what it was. My friends came to go check on me, including my surf instructor. My surf instructor also got stung by a stingray like 5 days before I did, so he could relate. The pain started up again. My surf instructor explained that when you get stung by a stingray, there's ups and then there's downs. It flows like a wave. The ups is when the pain hurts extremely bad, and then the downs is when you're okay, but it still probably hurts, but not as bad. So it goes up and then down. Pain and then less pain. But my surf instructor said right when you get stung is the worst part. Right when you get stung is the very top of the wave. So the most painful. And then on an average, the waves will slowly come downwards. There's going to be ups and downs, but on an average, the waves will slowly come down. So for me, after about 2.5 hours, the pain slowly went away. When I put my foot out of the water, it hurt really bad because my foot was not used to being in the air. So I put a paper towel over my foot and my dad drove me home. Now, you might think that this is the end of the story, but trust me, the story is not over yet. This is just the beginning. Well, that is the end of Why I Quit Surfing Part 1. Part 2 will come out this weekend. I cannot wait to tell you the rest of the story. So stay tuned and please subscribe.